환영합니다. Welcome to K-Culture Dive, where we dive deeper into the heart of Korean culture. With K-entertainment issues, AI culture news, K-culture and photos, and today our K-culture issues segment, where we take a dive into Korean temple stays. And I'm your host, Kwon So-hwa. Let's dive in. And starting off the new week with me is our co-host, Walter Lee. Hello, Walter.
Hello, so happy Monday, and happy Monday to our viewers watching at home. I'm Walter Lee, here to co-host alongside Soa and give you the latest in Korean entertainment.
All right, let's get started with K-Enter News then, Walter. Beginning with BTS and another record smashed by the group.
Yes, indeed. So BTS's fifth full-length album, Arirang, has smashed records surpassing 4 million pre-orders in just 1 week. Now, this is only 7 days after pre-orders opened. The album racked up an impressive 4.06 million copies, officially breaking the group's own record set by their fourth studio album. Now, last week we also reported that Arirang had surged to #1 on Spotify's Countdown charts global, a ranking that tracks the most pre-saved albums and singles worldwide ahead of its release. Remember, it hasn't even been announced yet, or it's not ready yet. And the hype doesn't stop there with news of BTS's comeback. Memberships on the global fan platform Weverse have surged threefold, showing just how massive the anticipation of their comeback is worldwide. BTS's highly anticipated new album is set to drop on March 20th, so still 2 months away at about 1 p.m. KST, Korean Standard Time.
Well, I wonder how many more records they are going to break even before their official comeback.
We'll have to see.
Well, Walter, let's now move over to a member of Blackpink, and I bet it's your favorite one.
It is indeed. So according to the nominee list released by the British Phonographic Industry, or BPI, for the 2026 Brit Awards, Rosé has landed a top nomination for International Song of the Year with Apart. Now, the nomination comes on the heels of Apart's massive success worldwide. Rosé previously made history at the 2025 MTV Music Awards, becoming the first K-pop artist to ever take home the top prize of Song of the Year. Now, she also earned major Grammy Award nominations in the headline category Song of the Year and Record of the Year. Now, all eyes turn to London. The 46th Brit Awards will be held on the February 28th local time, and fans around the world are watching closely to see whether Rosé will add another major trophy to her rapidly growing global legacy.
Wow, from Korea to the US to the UK, really, Rosé's global journey shows no signs of slowing down.
At all.
And last but not least, we're going to talk about Enhypen.
Indeed we are. So Enhypen are another band or group or K-pop massive idol who are also unstoppable at the moment, once again making waves on the Billboard charts. Now, according to a chart preview released on Sunday local time, the group's 7th mini album, The Sin Vanish, debuted at an impressive #2 on the Billboard 200. Now, The Sin Vanish also topped the top album sales chart with 113 copies sold, while adding 9,000 streaming equivalent units. Tracks from the album racked up 9.51 million official streams during the tracking period, the highest streaming total of Enhypen's career to date. Now, that achievement is not the only thing, and it doesn't just have to do with music as well. So in a major honor, Song-hoon, who has been selected as the torchbearer for the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan, Cortina d'Ampezzo, before his K-pop debut, Song-hoon was a member of South Korea's national figure skating reserve team. And since last year, he has served as the ambassador for the Korean Sport and Olympic Committee.
Wow, what a talented guy. And congrats again to Enhypen. And thank you very much, Walter, for those updates.
No worries.
And now we go over to our AI anchor Arirang for more on the culture front. Arirang, take it away.
Thanks, Sua. Here's your AI guide to the latest cultural headlines from Korea. Let's begin with our top story. The 2026 Hwacheon Sancheon Ice Festival has surpassed 1 million cumulative visitors just 2 weeks after its opening. According to officials in Hwacheon County, Gangwon-do Province, 945,908 people visited the festival between its opening day on the 10th and the 23rd alone, with more visitors over the weekend. The unique annual Winter Festival continues to offer experiences like ice fishing and various winter activities from around the world. But this year's festival is being particularly praised for its success, while also ultimately prioritizing safety. Amid harsh winter conditions, Hwacheon County made decisions based on strictly enforced safety measures, choosing to cancel or delay events, hence building trust among visitors. The Hwacheon Sancheon Ice Festival runs until February 1st this year. Domestic K-fashion companies are opening specialized stores in major tourist hotspots, like Sangsu, Myeongdong, and Hongdae, for greater exposure to foreign visitors. This is part of efforts to expand their points of contact with international customers, boost global brand recognition, and then use that momentum to drive overseas business growth. In its preliminary data release, the Ministry of Culture, Sports, and Tourism estimated that 18.98 million foreign tourists visited South Korea last year, which marks an all-time high driven by the quickly spreading global popularity of K-culture. Building on this momentum, the fashion industry is looking to grow with the tourism industry, which expects the number of inbound visitors to increase further in 2026. The sales revenue of South Korea's pop culture and arts industry has surpassed 15 trillion won, or more than $10 billion. According to survey data released by the Ministry of Culture, Sports, and Tourism and the Korea Creative Content Agency, the total sales revenue of the popular culture and arts industry reached around $10.4 billion in 2025, a sharp increase of 34.5% from 2022, and the highest figure since the survey began in 2015. Such strong growth in the industry was analyzed to be driven by the number of registered pop culture and arts planning agencies and their strong performances. The Korea Creative Content Agency analyzed that overseas activities of K-pop idol groups and the expanding formation of global fandoms contributed to the rise in sales. That's all from me. Turning now to a quick look at more K-culture stories making headlines today.
Through a single photo at a time, we take a closer look at culture in Korea. This is K-Culture in Photos. Let's read this word together. Gwanghwamun. Gwanghwamun is the main gate of Gyeongbokgung Palace and the symbolic heart of Seoul. For centuries, the gate has watched Korea change. Now, a new chapter is being discussed. The Korean government is considering adding a Korean signboard to Gwanghwamun while keeping the existing Chinese character one. And just steps away, the square in front of the gate is preparing for a global K-pop moment as BTS announces a full group comeback performance right here. This year marks 580 years since the creation of Hangul by the King Sejong the Great and 100 years since its first national celebration. One gate, two screens, and a culture still writing its history here at Gwanghwamun. Now take a look at these two vest jackets. Honestly, the moment I saw this, I thought, they're kimjang vest jackets. The kind grandmothers wear while making kimchi in winter. However, here's an unexpected part. They're from luxury brands. Can you believe it? Yes, these are luxury fashion items inspired by floral patterns and padded work vest, once worn for warmth and practicality. And the price? Somewhere between 2 and 6 million won, somewhere between about 1,500 and 4,500 US dollars. And here's another twist. Blankpig's Jenny and aespa's Karina also wore those floral jackets. They're wearing real Kimjang vest jackets, not designer, not limited edition. Just everyday cloth you can find at a local market. And those vest jackets quickly went viral on social media, getting attention not just in Korea, but among international fans as well. Now, do you want to try this vest jacket on? You don't need a luxury store. You can find it for less than 10,000 won at traditional markets. So if you're tempted, how about going shopping at a Korean traditional market? This place may look like a giant indoor gallery or part of a big mall, but actually, this is a library. Welcome to Starfield Library, located inside COEX Mall in Seoul. With its towering bookshelves and open-spaced design, it turns reading into a visual experience. And personally, whenever I come here, I catch myself thinking, oh, what would it feel like to have a library like this? It's just like straight out of Beauty and the Beast. As a cold wave swept across Korea, people naturally moved indoors, and Starfield Library became one of the city's most popular winter spots. Here, families come with children, couples enjoy dates, and visitors of all ages slow down, surrounded by books and beautiful lights. More than just a place to read, Starfield Library is where everyday life and culture gently meet, warm, calm, and very soul. At first glance, they almost look like ninjas, don't they? White uniforms, faces completely covered, and moving in a perfect formation across the vast field of snow. But look closer, they are not walking, they're actually skiing. This photo captures South Korea's special forces during an extreme winter training exercise in the snowy mountains of Daegwallyeong. Carried out in temperatures that fell as low as -30 degrees Celsius, the drill includes tactical ski movement, reconnaissance, and long-distance escape missions, all while carrying heavy gear. It's a striking image of discipline, endurance, and a uniquely Korean kind of toughness, forged in the harshest winter conditions. So, from signs in Gwanghwamun to soldiers forged in ice, K-culture lives in everyday moments in history and strength.
Close to 350,000 people took part in Korea's Temple's Day programs last year, marking an all-time high. Among them, more than 55,000 were international visitors. Temple stays are increasingly viewed not just as a religious activity, but as a form of cultural experience and healing. To explore this trend further, we're joined by someone who has long observed and studied Korean society, David Tizard, Professor of Korean Studies at Seoul Women's University and Hanyang University. Welcome back, Professor Tizard.
Hello, Professor.
Thank you very much for having me. It's wonderful to be back here, and for today's topic, 안녕하세요.
All right, so let's start with our topic and talk about temple stays. So why don't we start with a typical temple stay program? What does it involve? And also some background on how it came about in Korea, these programs.
Let me answer the second part of that question
Sure.
first, about the history of temple stays, how it came about. So without going too deep into this, the ruling ideology of Korea, traditional Korea from the Joseon dynasty, 1392 to 1897, was Confucianism. So during that time, there were no Buddhist monks in Seoul. They're all scattered out into the countryside, and Buddhism had to survive in the wilderness, as it were, for 500 years. It only sort of received its resurgence really during the 1960s and 1970s. That's when you had this kind of renovation and rehabilitation, this renaissance of Buddhism in Korea. The first time that people would be paying to go into temples was in 1962. That was in Haeinsa. So Buddhism and the idea of going there as a retreat is quite new, even though it has a very long history. The first time temple stays emerged, and there's a wonderful aspect to this story, is that it was 2002, it was the World Cup, you had hundreds of thousands of people coming to this land for the first time, and the government thought to themselves here, where are we going to put all these people? Because the hotels were full, the motels were full, the goshawons were full. And then they said, temples? And so really, temple stays began in 2002 as a pragmatic measure of finding places people to stay, but also advertising it as a way of saying, hey, come to Korea, watch the football, enjoy it, but also get a traditional slice of Korean culture and heritage by staying in a temple. So they started in 2002, really, in modern world. And since then, as you said at the start, they've just exploded exponentially.
Well, that is quite interesting. I mean, who would have thought the link between World Cup and the commercialization of temple stay programs?
Exactly.
So then what do these temple stay programs actually involve? What would you do at a typical temple stay experience? And then also, how have these temple stays become so popular?
Okay, so let's go with the first part of that question. What normally happens? I was speaking to your writer before we began, and there's a neologism in Korean society, which you probably both know, which is sabasa, which means person by person. Everyone's different. So I invented a new neologism, which is jolbajol. Every temple is different here because different temples, in order to advertise to people, to get people in, they offer different packages. So some packages that temples offer to people for temple stays, and when you go to temples, by the way, I should say this, they normally have brochures. They normally have little leaflets, folded vertical ones that you can see and have a look if it's right for you. Now, some of these packages will be experimental. What I mean by that is you're going to go through either 1 day or 2 days and you're going to be engaged in a lot of activities. That means bowing procedures, that means tea, that means engaging in calligraphy, making beads, the Yongju, things like that. Other programs are more reflected of the internal discovery, so relaxation, meditation, and the idea of finding yourself, finding some relief. So the temples, they all offer different things, and they've labeled them differently. You'll find things called like the Bluebird program at certain temples, but they differ in whether they offer experiences where they're hands-on and you're doing things, or more like a retreat where you're sort of going away from society and avoiding all the social media and everything that we have in our daily lives.
Right, and similar programs exist around the world, obviously, in different Asian countries and probably beyond that as well, with the Buddhism widely practiced around the world. But though you mentioned Chol by Chol, right, so it's like temple by temple, what, in your view, makes the Korean temple stay so unique?
That's a really interesting question. There are two types of Buddhism. There's more, but we normally divide it into two. We have Theravada Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism. This began in India. The Buddhism that we have in Korea that went through China and came here, this is called Mahayana Buddhism. So it's very different in its approach to Southeast Asia, just like you have Protestants and Catholics, you have Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims. Here, what makes Korean temple stays and Buddhism very unique, first of all, is the type of Buddhism, Mahayana. Second is the nature, because if you go to Southeast Asia, the weather is hot, the geography is different, the climate, the animals, they're all different. Temple stays here in Korea, you have to get out of the city, you have to get into the countryside. And that means you're surrounded by the Korean mountains. That means you're surrounded by the foliage, the sounds, the cicadas, the bugs, everything, the sand, it's all there. The other part of it is, in advertising these temple stays, there's this big debate that goes on and going, is it Buddhism or is it Korean culture that people are actually experiencing here? Because there's this big push that people want to go and experience the real Korea, the true Korea. They want to get out of Seoul and Gwanghwamun and go and experience this. And that means that when people go there, they're often engaging in traditional Korean practices. This might be folk games, this might be sort of tea ceremonies as well, which do occur in Buddhism, but they're more related to Confucian attitudes of sort of yangban or noble propriety. So there's this big debate that actually goes on in Buddhism itself and the tourism industry. Are people going to experience Buddhism or are they going to experience traditional Korean culture? Because the two things aren't always the same. They overlap for sure, but that's a big sticking point.
Right, then from a perspective of international tourists, maybe you've heard from your students yourself,
Yeah.
what do you think is the biggest appeal that sets apart for, let's say, just hotels or even Hanok stays as
Yeah.
well?
That's a really interesting question, because what attracts people to this, not everybody is attracted the same way. Looking at the data, especially amongst sort of, you differentiate it between Korean people that go to temple stays and foreign people. Regardless of that demographic, the people that most attracted to temple stay programs are women and people in their sort of 30s and 40s. These are the biggest demographics going there. And that tells us two things, perhaps. One is that maybe men are gender coded against seeking spiritual relief. You don't seem like a, sangnamja or tetonam or a masculine person if you're feeling that you need some help with your spirituality. So women have more access to it that way. And it's really for the sort of 30s and 40s. This means they have some financial ability to go. They're not trapped, but also they're not too old that the whole sitting on the floor and bowing is very hard for them. So it appeals to them two demographics. Why do the international people like it, you asked, Walter? Well, I think there's the idea of authenticity. There's the idea that I'm going to get something that nobody else is going to get. I'm going to feel something here. That's very important these days. Another thing will be nature. You want to be around nature. You want to see the horizon. You want to wake up with the sun, fall asleep to the moon, and have your circadian rhythm back in motion. And another thing might be relax. You want to stop performing. You want to stop being on show. You want to get out of this sort of neoliberal rat race and just for 1 second, slow down, not perform, not pimp your butterfly, and just be. So there's a multitude of reasons, but I think they are some of them.
And Professor Tizard, our next question is kind of related to what you earlier mentioned, but among foreign visitors today, not everyone is just about K-pop and Korean dramas, but they really want to experience something Korean. So would you say that temple stays or Buddhism, we could say that this is actually something very representative, and temple stays are a representative space to experience that uniquely Korean thing?
That's a really difficult question, so for a brief news question. What I will say is this: the temples offer an idealized view of what Korea can and perhaps should be, as well as what it was in the past, because it's about slowness, it's about quietness, it's about sitting down, it's about reflection. And so it's this idealized view of what Korea could be. Korea today is known for pali-pali, it's known for quick, it's known for efficiency, speed, and everything associated with that. But at the same time, there are values inside Korea. I know certainly when I speak to old people, they tell me when you speak Korean, slow down, speak slowly, walk slowly, that's the etiquette, have an upright and correct posture, just like you do. So they show us maybe not the real daily life of Korea, but what they show us is an idealized version of what Korea perhaps was in the past, and perhaps what it could be and other people could be in the future. So I think that's very interesting. It's a different view of reality.
Similar to K-museums, as we had that topic last time, and I remember you mentioned also that's kind of the values, the ideal values that we see in those K-history museums as well. But let's now talk about food. Now, recently, because of Culinary Class Wars Season 2, there has been another renewed attention on temple food because of Sonjae Snim. So how do you interpret this increased attention regarding the temple food culture?
Temple food Buddhism spreading across Korean culture is really interesting. And it was good to see that in the Culinary Class Wars. My family were big into Edward Lee and watching his performances. My son is called Edward. Hello, Edward. It's his birthday today.
Happy birthday.
But we've also seen it in Uyangwoo. That drama featured Buddhism. One of my favorite dramas, Naya Joshi, My Mister, that had a very big storyline with a man retreating into a temple. Jenny's done a song called Zen.
Right.
There are other, Wonyoung has talked about Buddhism and reading these books, so it does spread across into the culture, and that gets people, what is that? Because the life of Buddhism is so very different from the Western world or other parts of the world. when you go to a temple, because I realized we're running out of time, and I thought this would be good to give you guys, right?
Okay.
So when you go to a temple, we have this idea of meditation or relaxing is just doing nothing, thinking about nothing. But Korean monks will probably give you what is called a hwadu. Hwadu is a question that's designed to provoke you into enlightenment. So when you relax or meditate, you're not meant to shut your eyes. You're meant to keep them slightly open and ponder the question. Now, I'll give you the question now, which is, imagine there's a duck which has been placed inside a bottle, but the duck is too big to get out the whole of the bottle. You know, like those ships in a bottle that we have? So there's the duck inside the bottle. How do you get the duck out without harming the duck or breaking the bottle?
Oh, geez, I could be here forever.
Yeah. and that, when you go to a Buddhist temple and when you're, that is the kind of thing that you'll be pondering. So it's not sitting in silence and doing nothing. You're asked to train your mind to think about that question. That's the ilcha, that's the first level hwadu.
Oh, very interesting.
You're still thinking about it.
Yeah, and usually if you suddenly are asked such an impromptu question, your heartbeat kind of starts to thump faster, but I felt the opposite right now.
Yeah, me too.
I felt very healed and relaxed. Yes, I guess that's all part of it.
Yeah.
And yes, I think that is actually all the time we have, unfortunately, Professor Tizard. Thank you very much for your time and your insights today. And maybe we should say bye to you like this today.
감사합니다.
감사합니다. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Walter, as always. We're going to see you back here on Wednesday.
See you on Wednesday.
Thanks for watching and your interest in everything K-culture. Please tune in again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Korea time. Keep diving.